Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today Mars Needs Moms. This is a 2011 film. I don't I don't know if it's really a Disney film, and I don't recall if it was released by 20th Century Fox. I don't know why my brain just some sort of skipped over any of those kind of titles, but I'm not sure which way it came from. There is a mention of Disneyland in the movie, so maybe it really is Disney, just without any of the Disney logos or anything else on it. This is a 2011 film. It's an hour and 32 minutes long, and it came out right in the mess, the glut of so many digital films. I mean, beyond just all the stuff that Pixar was doing and everything else, but this is a kind of digital film that really makes use of all the motion capture and like Avatar came out in 2009. Everything's 3D, and but this came out in that sort of animated film era in which so many digital characters were suddenly just hitting the scene, and I guess it didn't do well. I think it just kind of just disappeared as soon as it showed up, which is kind of sad because it's based on a book by Berkeley Breathed, who is a guy who created Bloom County, Opus the Penguin, Bill the Cat. It's Outland. If you don't know what any of those things are, you probably didn't live through the 80s or 90s. But yeah. I mean, he had a comic strip in the newspaper. I know those are two concepts that don't really exist much now these days. But you can find his stuff in collections. They were mostly humor, a lot of political stuff, a lot of satire about society and things like that. But it was always just irreverent, fun kind of stuff. And he took his shot at writing a children's book, and it was Mars Needs Moms. And I think it did well enough, obviously, to be picked up and made into a movie, and it did. But unfortunately, it kind of went nowhere. I never saw it until now, which is that tells you how much I guess I believed the advertising or lack of it, because I mean, as soon as it was in, it was gone. I didn't really go see it on opening weekend, and by the time I was going to even try to see it, it was gone. So in a place where honestly in LA, where there's plenty of movie theaters and everything is usually playing. So yeah, it was also a weird time in my life, I guess. I don't know. Either way, I guess I wasn't really much into seeing a movie about Mars needing moms. Despite the cast, Joan Cusack is the aforementioned mom, at least the main mom in this. You'll know her as Jessie from Toy Story 2 and beyond. Milo, the main character, is played by Seth Green, sort of. Well, primarily. He was able to perform physically all the attributes of a 9-year-old boy named Milo. By the way, Milo is a direct reference to another character, not the same character, that Berkeley Breathed put into Bloom County, has existed in Bloom County comic strips for decades, and so I think that's why Milo got used here. But performed by Seth Green, you know him obviously from a zillion different things, Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Austin Powers and everything else. And there's a neat connection to Austin Powers additionally in this. Mindy Sterling plays an alien leader, mostly speaking in alien language, but she's his mom in the Austin Powers movies, so it's kind of a little bit of a reunion there. And then there's Dan Fogler, who is probably the most expressive character in all this. You'll know Dan Fogler from a number of things. He's the main Muggle in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and he's been in Fanboys. He's written a lot of stuff. I think he's done some of his own comics. He's a pretty big nerd, and Fanboys is a Star Wars fan, not a fan film, but it's made by fans. But yeah, it kind of is an indie film by Kyle Newman, I think, that kind of also came and went under the radar. Had Kristen Bell in it. Okay, So, uh, and anyway, so Dan Fogler is probably the most magnetic character in this entire thing because he gets to be so expressive. He gets to be sort of the agent of chaos in this. He is. I don't want to ruin the film because odds are most people have not seen this. Suffice it to say, this is a movie that where it's the point of this is about a 9-year-old kid whose mom is taken away from him by aliens. And the last thing he said to her before she got taken away was, "I wish I didn't have a mom." And that's kind of a sentiment that is at least expressed by a child at least once in their life before they hopefully instantly regret it. And Milo instantly regrets it when he suddenly sees his mom being taken away in a spaceship, which is unsettling in itself, just seeing an alien spaceship. But having your mom taken away in it, with lots of big windows so you can see all that stuff happening, well, he accidentally hitches a ride and gets taken up into the spaceship as well, and is suddenly finds himself on Mars, and he is doing everything he can to bring her home and reconcile and everything else. And along the way, he runs into Gribble, and Gribble is Dan Fogler, and an alien female named Key, who more or less, well, okay, I'll just say it right out. She becomes an ally in their struggle to escape the planet with the mom. So yeah, it's a big action adventure thing. It's beautifully rendered, and all the character work, as you'll see if you watch the credits at the end, is all motion captured. You can see it obviously in just the way everybody expresses themselves, how they move, everything else. It's very much a motion capture film, like the actors in Avatar and other things like that. It's not a live action film with digital characters. It is fully digital backgrounds and everything else, and it creates a pretty cool looking alien world version of Mars, where the aliens are doing their best to trick our rovers that are going around the planet from finding them. But we see an interesting society. We get to see the reason why Mars needs moms, and there's some really real danger that is set up in this, and it's a little traumatic. I think this is definitely it's the kind of thing where you want to show it to your little kids to say, "Hey, don't be mean to your mom. Your mom loves you, and yes, she sets rules and tells you what to do." And to take out the trash or clean up after yourself or eat your broccoli, but she does it because she loves you and she knows what's best for you. And you come back at her with, "Oh, I wish you were my mom." Well, you're a jerk. But kids, again, don't fully understand the consequences of what they say, and you want to impress upon them that, hey, you know what? Those words hurt, and understand that there's a reason why your mom is the way she is when it comes to, well, most moms. Most moms are pretty awesome people, and they do what's best for their kids, whether the kids realize it or not. So yeah, you kind of want to show that to your kid, but some of this stuff is fairly intense, fairly traumatic. I don't know if this is actually all in the book, it's like kids' book, because I don't think the kids' book was like a novel or anything. It would seem pretty thin, probably very illustration heavy. I think this is probably a bit more intense than the original book. I haven't read it, so I do not know. Why does something tells me that I have the book, but I don't remember reading it? I don't know. I have a lot of his stuff, but anyway, yeah, it's there's a lot of action, there's a lot of intensity, a lot of emotion, and it probably aliens with the best butts that have ever existed in cinema. Yeah. I said it. I said it. They're really hippie. I don't know. And I'm just going to say it. I mean, I don't think it's unintentional. And forgive me if it sounds sexist, but those aliens have great butts. I'm probably going to live to regret saying that, but I apologize if I've offended anybody, but it's true. Just look at it. Just watch it for the butts. Anyway, if anything else, I mean, it makes for a good adventure. It makes for something exciting, and there's a lot of ticking clock kind of action going on here, and some moments where you're like, okay, there's some pretty sad moments in this, and there is some life and death moments where you're literally thinking, okay, maybe somebody might not make it out of this alive. And that's to the credit of the story writing and the storytelling, the pacing, and everything else, to create a pretty intense environment. So yeah, I kind of recommend this. I mean, as much as it's not your standard Disney film, there's not a princess in sight, and it's not a Pixar film where Randy Newman's going to show up and sing something that's going to make you feel good. Although Queen does, Freddie Mercury and Queen does show up at the end over the credits and plays stuff, which sort of wraps up some little dangling plot points and that aren't super important, but it's a neat little what happened after kind of thing. And you also get to see behind the scenes with everybody in their motion capture suits acting out scenes you had seen previously in the film, and you get to see how that all works. And you're like, that is definitely Seth Green. And they for a lot of it, they didn't change the shape of the face for Seth Green. Some of it really was different. Now, he's obviously a grown man, and he doesn't necessarily sound like a 9-year-old. When I saw his name in the credits, I'm like, this doesn't sound like Seth Green at all. So they got somebody else, like they got a kid, and I gotta see if I can do this. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he was spent 6 weeks in a motion capture suit, and eventually they realized, you know what, he does not have the voice of a 9-year-old, and so they actually got an 11-year-old, Seth Dusky, to replace Seth's voice. His physical performance is fully there, but a kid overdubbed his voice on top of the character. So yeah, Seth does still appear in the film as a hippie in a scene that I'm going to leave no point of reference for. But yeah, again, I kind of like the alien design. for more than just butts, but they got nice, like the big heads and eyes, and with them they look appealing to the point that somebody gets a crush on Key, and it's not me. So yeah, I recommend it. Yeah, I know a lot of people are like, this is a bad movie. You know what? No, it wasn't a bad movie. It's a movie that nobody saw, so you can't say that it's bad. Maybe for the few people who did, maybe they didn't like it. I don't know, but I don't know what you're expecting. But again, it's a darker film than you would normally find on Disney. So if you're looking for a bit of a more darker sci-fi kids adventure, yeah, it's gonna leave a little bit of trauma, I think, here and there. Might be something you want to watch before you have the kids watch it. Older kids will still be able to appreciate it. 9-year-olds can probably handle this and go, you know what, and be able to make more conscious decisions to go, hey, let's treat mom better, and dad too. And there is a dad in this. He's just out of the picture. He's traveling and can't get home. So he's there, and he by the way, he's played by, come on, where are you? Oh, Tom Everett Scott. So, and his character does look a little bit like Tom Everett Scott. So yeah, it's I think one of the most crazy things is either you're going to be super annoyed or you're going to really relish the character of Gribble played by Dan Fogler, and he does have a pretty interesting backstory, and that's interesting is not the word I want to use, but I don't want to spoil anything. So it's a pretty intense, let's just say, and he's a comic relief in this, but he's also sort of the controller of a number of things. But again, I'm just being vague now, and it's not helping you at all. I say you should watch it if you like good sci-fi stuff, and if you like Berkeley Breathed. And yeah, you don't see I don't really see any of the Bloom County Berkeley Breathed stuff in this. I just don't see a lot other than the name Milo. But and there's a lot of good humor, but it's still just a little bit not. If you're looking for an Opus the Penguin or Bill the Cat kind of comedy, it's not that. But I think there's by the way, a Bloom County series in the works that might be coming to Disney Plus. I don't know, or somewhere else. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but I've heard something. Rumblings. Anyway, let's pick tomorrow's episode.
505.
505, okay. Alright. Always tell when can't tell when the neighbors are peeking in on me. Okay, alright, we got another movie. It's a movie weekend here. 3 in a row. Alright, this one is very much a Disney classic. Live action from 1950. This has been an influence on a certain part of Disneyland and beyond. But we're going to be finally checking out the classic Treasure Island. So yeah. We're getting some modern stuff, some new stuff, and some old stuff, all in the same weekend. And that's going to be fun. So I'll see you back here tomorrow with Treasure Island, the 1950 classic on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.